Welcome to Profitable Mini Sessions Part 2. Today we're going to be finishing up some thoughts that we didn't get to finish in Part 1, which came out last week, all around mini sessions, how to offer them, the logistics of them, and Kayla shared 4 things that you need to keep in mind as you're promoting these mini sessions for success. Now, today we're going to talk about pricing these mini sessions, upsells for these mini sessions, and some logistics of the booking of them. Like how many can we fit into a day? All of the details. So, I am joined again by my friend and photographer, Kayla Brent. She is a family photographer, speaker, and educator, and a mom to 2 boys. Now, you guys loved the first installment of this series. So if you haven't seen that, after you're finish watching today's video, you can go back and watch that, where you'll see kind of our starting off and background that Kayla shares on all things mini sessions. So before we jump in today, though, I want to share one of the comments that we got on that video from a fellow Photoboss, Melissa Rich. So she shared, these videos could not have come at a more perfect time. I was planning my first ever mini sessions just before I finished watching Part 1, but I hadn't announced them yet. So she changed 2 pivotal things that Kayla had taught about in that video. She changed the name of the sessions and she began hyping up the booking date of the session rather than the actual day that the minis were going to take place on. She says, wow, game changer. Everyone showed interest after posting about the upcoming sessions and actually scheduled a time slot when it opened, and I am completely booked. So I wanted to say thank you for taking time to put this together because it actually works.
What a win. And congratulations to you for being such a go-getter. Like, that's incredible that you took something you learned and you implemented it and you saw amazing results. So congratulations to you. I'm so excited. That's the best.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff works. It truly does. And today we're going to answer some questions that we've got, especially around how long are the sessions? How do you price them? What do you price the upsell at compared to the session? So we're going to get into all of that today. But I specifically have prepared some comps and some numbers, and I know Kayla has too, on how it is possible to make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in a single day of mini sessions. So let me hand it over to you.
Yes.
And
Well, Joy, I mean, you already know this, but I'm going to let everybody else know. This is my least favorite topic, on the face of the earth. I would rather go to the dentist than to sit down and talk about pricing. It just is something that, okay, if you're a Harry Potter fan, I am Hermione, and I have done all the research, taken the courses, read the books, followed everything to a T, and it has never worked for me. The processes and the pricing strategies that they've given me have never worked for me exactly. Like, they would work, but it was hard. Something didn't feel right. So I thought for the longest time, I just don't like pricing, or I'm not good at pricing. I know now that that's not the truth because I'm selling out sessions. I'm making thousands of dollars in a day, but that is because I have modified and adjust the way I think about pricing. And that's exactly what I'm going to be sharing today with this whole mini session thing, because it really, I guess with mini sessions, it made more sense because it's more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's more like of a laser focused thing. It's a one-time event other than your whole entire business. I want to make X amount of money in a year. Instead, you're taking that and making it much smaller. And you're saying, hey, I want to make this much in a day, and then reverse engineering that. So if you're a person who has come at this before and it did not work, or you did not like the way you priced it, or you didn't feel you paid enough, or people weren't booking, maybe you were too high and people weren't booking, we are going to talk about those things today. So there's a lot of factors that go into pricing. This is a quote that shared so much that annoys me, and it's know your worth, double it, and then add tax. And I'm like, what does that even mean? That makes me feel so even that much more confused on it. I'm like, well, let's start with the big part. What is my worth?
And your pricing is not your worth.
Yeah. And it's kind of in the money side of it, it's just, oh my goodness. So it's know your worth, double it, and add tax. I'm like, that is not the way that I play the game here. And I want you to know about the game I am playing. I am in a very small town. located on the Texas-Arkansas line. So it's here as relative to the rest of the country, the prices are cheaper. Everything's cheaper. For instance, when I started teaching, like as a public school teacher, I made less than $30,000 a year. And I know some of y'all are like, you can't get an apartment and just pay for your apartment rent on that. And that's just kind of how things are. So I just want to tell you where I'm coming from and the prices, like how I price based off of that. So what the number one thing that I would tell you after you, especially if you've done them in the past, let's talk about those that done this past, because I feel like you probably have, or most of y'all have. How do you feel about the money that you made in the past? Do you feel like you worked way too hard for it? Do you feel exhausted? Do you feel like you never want to do another mini session again and you really weren't going to do them, but now you see Joy talking about them, so you're considering it? So that's one way to feel. Or do you feel like I tried it and nobody booked me? So that makes me discouraged and I'm thinking that there's problems here. So that's maybe you, especially if you're exhausted, you didn't charge enough. And if you're not booking, maybe you charge too much for that. So those are like, how do you feel about it? Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all how I feel about it because I can only speak for me. I feel so good about my mini sessions. I look forward to them. I love them. I love being around people who literally set alarms on their phones weeks in advance so they can make sure to get a session. That kind of energy coming into my studio feels incredible. It's like some of my favorite days of the year because of the way that exchange of money makes me feel. I get paid really well for it and they're very excited about it. So that is something that kind of sounds woo-woo, but at the same time, it's really not, because this is your business, your life, and you want to feel good about the money that you're making. So that is just kind of a woo-woo thing, like, know your worth, double it. Well, let's start with how you feel about the money that you get for it. So there is that. Do you have any specific questions? I don't want to get ahead of myself, Joy.
No, this is actually really, really helpful. So, can you share, like, how many spots do you sell? What are your starting prices? Like, how do you think about, okay, this feels really good now on the back end, like having done it? I think there's a certain point where in business you have to try something, do it, and see how that price feels, see what in actuality what the work is. Like, we don't know going into it, what's the editing going to look like, what's the logistics going to look like. So I think that there is some merit to just, like, you have to try some things out and throw some spaghetti, but start with a place of strategic spaghetti, right? Like, you kind of know where you're trying to end up. And so, if you want to share a little bit of, like, in one day, how many people are you trying to serve, and how do you think about your prices and then the upsell? Can you kind of share some specifics on that?
Yes. Absolutely. Well, I will give y'all numbers from my last year's Simply Christmas session. So to tell you about my Christmas session, this year will be the first year I've offered a Santa session. So don't get the two confused. I have a Santa session and a Christmas session. And both of them are sold out for 2022. But I'm going to give you my numbers for woohoo!
That's such a cool thing. Congrats.
And just to be honest, I really thought throwing in a Santa session was going to make it to where I wasn't going to sell out my general Christmas session. That did not happen, by the way. So if you're toying with the idea of adding something new, you should totally do it. So we're going to talk about 2021 Christmas session. So this is general, like, I have zero cost to it. I don't have to pay for Santa. None of that. So my goal is to make $3,000 in a day. Nice. So I had 17 spots. I had 17 spots that were up for grabs. And I mean, I have sold out in the past, but I always go into it like, I want to make $3,000 a day, even if I don't sell all the spots. Like, I like to give myself a little bit of buffer. I know that's probably not a good, like, thought process. You should be like, yeah, I'm going to sell out. But just in case, I have a buffer in there. So 17 sessions at $175 each is $2,975, which I made last year. I did sell it out. And so I made $2,975. But here's the thing. That was sold in, like, August. And the session's not until November. So I got paid that money up front. They have to pay in full. I do not do a payment plan. And these are things, especially once you start selling out, I highly recommend you doing that because
Mm.
you need your money, get your money right then. And then there's an upsell. That's the thing. After they get their pictures, there's a $200 upsell for the whole gallery because the session itself, the initial session only comes with 5 images. I deliver a whole bunch more. And then I'm like, you can get the whole gallery for $200. Remember, they paid me $175 4 months ago. So now getting $200 from them isn't that hard because
Mm-hmm.
A, they love them, and B, it's not like they're paying almost $400, actually more with tax.
Mm.
It's not like they're paying that all at one time. It's
Yeah.
it's that is the payment plan in essence, but it's
Yeah.
not a payment plan. But it breaks up the cost for them, which is extremely helpful, especially if you are a luxury photographer and your mini sessions are for people who love your work, but maybe can't afford it or budget it for a regular session. So that really helps them. And that's built in. That's not a payment plan. It's just
Yeah.
$175 up front, $200 is the upsell for the whole gallery. And I sold 5 of those. So I made $3,975 last year in one day, and I edited them. Edited
Edited.
them.
It's a hard word to
Edited. That
say.
is a hard word to say. I edited them after they were gone, and I had like a break, like my lunch break. I will even just start culling. I'll start culling all the photos, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like a whole day. It's a marathon. But once you're done, you make almost
You are
$4,000.
just shy of 4,000 with 17 spots. Can you tell me how long the session spots are?
Yes, for the Simply Christmas session. So that's my Christmas. That's where the whole family is invited. They are 15 minutes long.
Nice.
15 minutes long, and I block off 20 minutes of
Okay.
time per person. So there's a 5-minute layover there for any reason. And honestly, that's a kind of another talk for another day, maybe. But when it comes to like the logistics of it, that is all 100% on them. Like they know, and I have emails. They know they are to be there early so
Yeah.
they can literally be walking in my door for their time. And if they are late, that cuts into their time.
Gotcha.
But that 5 minutes there is for me. Like I never know, when I want to eat or I need to go to the restroom or whatever it might be, I need to check my phone, check on my kids. I like to have those 5 minutes. And this happens every year.
Mm-hmm.
Those I'm just able to get people in quicker. So I always get ahead of time. So I tell them come 10 minutes early. I
Okay.
usually finish up pretty quickly and then I get done earlier. So I'm able to have time in between the sessions to cull or to do anything that I need to do to clean up.
Okay. And then at what point did they know that they can get the full gallery for 200? Like,
They know when they book.
nice.
They know
Okay.
when they book, and it's on there. It says today it's 175, but they know when they book how much it's going to cost, and
Nice.
that they will have that option later.
Okay. This is so cool and so helpful. And I know um, that so you're just shy of 4K in a day
Yes,
with
yes,
editing included, which is so
yes.
cool. And I feel like it's such a cool goal. And I was saying, when you hopped off the first time when we had our technical glitch, I was saying, some people will offer 2 days. And so
Uh-huh.
you can effectively double whatever this is if you have like a Saturday, Sunday situation.
Mm.
And let's say you're able
Mhm.
to do 15 and 15. We were comping numbers of like 15 spots getting you to around 4,000 in a day, depending on the upsells and how this works and how obviously the conversion rate. But then I'm like, okay, right here on my screen, I'm like, okay, 4,200 is where we were playing with. But if you were to double that into 8,400 by having
Right.
2 days, it's like, it's wild what you can accomplish here, especially if those spots start to sell out. You really might have demand to open up a second date,
Oh,
which is
absolutely.
kind of what you did with the Santa sessions and then Christmas minis. It's like you really do have 2 different days, but probably you have some of the clients are doing both because they are
Yes,
different.
I do.
Yeah.
I do have some of my clients, they did book both sessions. And that is a very, like, I think that something that everybody needs to know, like including me, including Joy. Joy, I'm throwing you under the bus too. Like we're all making this stuff up as we go. Like it's all one big experiment. Like
Mm-hmm.
technically, I have not opened up a second day, but I could.
Mm-hmm.
But for me to say, I know if I open up a second day that it would do this, I don't know.
Right.
Because what you do when you do open up a second day is the limited and the exclusivity of it just got doubled. So I
Yeah.
don't know what would happen. That would literally be me throwing spaghetti at the wall, which will something will change next year. I shared this with Joy. I want to share it with y'all. Next year, I have a goal. 2023 is I want to have 5K. Like now that I've sold these out, I want to have it 5K. So that's a little over $1,000. And I did the math. That sounds like a lot of money. Like from where
Yeah.
I'm at, or was it what?
But you're only $1,000 off from what you made last year.
Right. And that
Yes.
is only $60 a person.
That's
That's it.
crazy. Yeah.
That's $60 a person. And of course, not every person, I don't have to. That does not mean that I need to charge $60 more per person. That
Right.
means maybe I up it like $20 per registration fee, and then maybe go up a little bit on the upsell for
Yeah.
those people there, because then you have a little more fluctuation at that, because the upsells typically it's been about half, maybe a little bit more when it
Okay.
comes to upsells. Can I talk about upsells real quick? Is
Yeah,
now a good time?
please.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something that I've seen with upsells has been extremely interesting, because I have two of my main ones I've done for several years has been a Christmas session and a motherhood session. So around Mother's Day. So they're at opposite ends of the year. I notice that more people at the Christmas session, more people sign up for that. And so I have more spots for it. I sell them both out, but I have more spots for the Christmas ones because everyone's thinking about pictures. They want them, and they sign up for it. However,
Yeah.
but I have less. So let me do this here. More Christmas sessions, less moments of motherhood sessions. But what happens is my Christmas sessions have less upsells.
Mm-hmm.
And my moments of motherhood, the people who buy the upsells. Almost all of them bought the upsells. So they end up, I make the same amount of money.
You're not competing with people's Christmas budget. Like,
I'm not, that's what it is. That's got to be what it is.
I love
Because
that
they're
though.
spending money. It's November. Like they're spending money left and right.
But to your point, I think, playing around with the concept of like each of these things are a sales experiment, and this is like a pie. So you're changing the different variables. So you're changing the level of scarcity by adding a second day. You're changing, either having a bigger upsell and then a lower session price, or you can flip it around. It's like these are different variables. So every time you do this, you're going to have a different result. And I think that that's like such a good point to make. I shared in the first time that I did this, but I want to share it again. If you were to say, okay, I want to make $5,000 in one day with mini sessions, and let's say you have 15 slots. If you were to sell those session rates at around $200, you can make just in session fees $3,000 with an upsell of maybe $225. If 10 people bought the upsell, you could get another $2,250, which puts you well over $5,000. That puts you into $5,250. And that would give you even like a little cushion perhaps for like paying for like a Santa or a rental or a studio or something. So thinking about that extra session costs along with it, making sure to like put that into the cost that you're creating. So if this is a session that's like outside, bare bones, you don't have those costs, you might price those differently than if you have to rent a studio, if you have to rent an assistant, you have to rent a Santa. And I think that's like a really good point to make as well. So I would love to hear your thoughts, because you had the 15-minute sessions, and that's helpful to know that you block 20 and it's 15. For your 8-minute sessions, can you share a little bit about like why 8 minutes? Like how do you decide how long to make these is, I guess, my question.
Well, for the Christmas session, the general Christmas session, I've been doing families for so long. That is like, I just knew like in 15 minutes, I can get the good shots. I can get individuals of the kids. That's what I get. I get individuals of the kids, some candid shots. Like They come in here and there's not much small talk though.
Yeah.
We give
Yeah.
hugs but I'm in charge. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have to be in charge of what's going on. Give hugs, tell them you can talk at the end. Be like, let's go have some fun. All you do is grab the kids and
Yeah.
you just talk to the kids at that point. Grab the kids, be like, hey, come sit over here. And I'll do over here because this is where we go. Literally on this bed and I get all the shots that I need. And I know 15 minutes is plenty of time for that.
Right.
Now, with my 8-minute sessions, this will be my first time doing it. That's for Santa. And I base that strictly off of, because I've never done a Santa session. And remember, I sold it out. Never done Santa before. It's sold out. And so I was like, how long does this need to be? I've thought about what my sons have gotten in the past. And I kind of just looked at that. With the Santa picture, I'm going to be interested to see the upsells because remember, we are all making this up as we go.
Yeah.
But I do want to make it more of a several different shots, several different angles, like them looking at the camera, like the traditional, like Santa, like the whole thing, but then have some where they're reading and all these things. So I'm already being intentional about that, but I have 8 minutes to do it. But however, there's not as much logistics. There's not individual pictures. There's not all of that. So that's why I made it 8 minutes. Yet last year when my sons got their pictures made, we were there 3 minutes tops.
Yeah.
I have purchased to have private sessions with Santa before, and I think that was around 10 minutes, and it was too much time. I remember being like, okay, we're good. We got it. You can only talk with Santa so much.
Yeah, especially if your kid is scared of Santa, like that's a painful 8 minutes. Okay, so Jessica actually asked 2 questions. How many images are in the upsell gallery on average? Like compared to what they get the 5, they know they get the 5.
And then I would say around 20 plus. It really depends on the kid and the situation.
Yeah.
Or the family in the situation. But I would say it's 20 or more. And that's why I get a lot of upsells because it's really hard to choose 5 out of that many. And another thing that I would say, if you were especially if you're starting out and you really want those upsells, offer black and whites, do them all in black and white too, put them in there. And that could be, they would be like, I like this in color and I like it in black and white. I only have 5 images and they will buy the whole gallery. Done that before.
So cool. Okay. Do you work with an assistant? Is there anybody with you?
No, I do not. Now, there's people who highly recommend doing that.
Yeah.
But I have the logistics of my studio down to a T that there's no need for it, which is very important. Do I have time to spend 2 minutes talking about this, Joy? About the logistics?
I think let this be the last point because I am running out of time here, unfortunately, but we'll just have to do another live.
We will figure this out. But so there's only one door in and one door out of my studio. And if you have multiple on the location that you're shooting at, put one, do not enter. There needs to be one in and one out because you do not want to have people coming in while you're doing on somebody else's time.
Yeah.
So I have them come in and I have in the email, they stay in their car. And this happened during COVID, by the way. The first time when I got my studio done, it was during COVID, beginning of it. So that was set up as a safety, we're talking 2020, Christmas 2020. And that works out beautifully. I have them stay in their car and then I will text them when it's their turn. So that allows me 2 things. Logistics wise, I get to time everything out really beautifully. And also if there's something that I need to do, if there's something I need to take care of, clean up, I don't have to feel like I'm entertaining somebody. Nobody's physically in my studio. So there's only one family in the studio at a time. During COVID times, that was typed out, in the email, due to COVID-19, I'm only allowing one family in the studio at a time. Now I realize logistically, that is beautiful.
Yes.
So I don't have to have an assistant.
Well, far less hectic feeling because in my mind, I'm oh, you have a lot of people just milling around and kind of over your shoulder. And it sounds like you could get loud in your studio as well because I know your studio's tall ceilings and cement floors. And it's
and you can't have that. You can't have that and expect a kid to be looking at you and paying attention.
No.
For instance, I'm facing this way, the kids are facing this way, I'm this way, the door is right here. They're going to be looking at whomever. I mean, of course, we all do. Something's moving. they look at it. So that's the way I set it up. And
Yeah.
families have loved it
Mm-hmm.
because they're told to come 10 to 15 minutes before their time slot. They will, so I'll have sometimes several cars out there. Some come really early.
Yeah.
And they'll go out there and dress their kids
Yeah.
like in the car, get them all set up so their stuff doesn't get wrinkled on the way. Like it
Mm-hmm.
really works out best for the client and for me.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, I wish I had more time. We will definitely be doing more of these. I think beyond mini sessions, we're going to be talking all things
Yes.
business and balance and marketing and all the things. So thank you so much for coming on here today. I know we have some questions that we didn't get to, but Kayla, if you can jump in the chat after this uploads in the replay and answer any of those, that would be amazing. And if you guys enjoyed this and you have more questions, always throw them in the comment section and we will definitely be back for another one of these.
Yes,
In
and
the
we would
very
love
near
to know
future.
what y'all would like to hear. We would love to know any specific questions that you have. Drop them below, and as soon as we get off here, I'll be answering them.
Awesome. Oh, all right. Thank you.
Bye, Joy. Bye, friends.
Bye, guys.